Hey folks, very depressing day today. And I'm not talking about the market. Almost all of my tomatoes have been eaten by some critter. I have, I had here's one that fell, he ripped it down. Of course, it's green. It didn't have time to ripen, but I had maybe 30 tomatoes on two plants. There's 5 left. He just chewed through everything. Some were getting red. They were almost ready to pick. And I built kind of like a greenhouse enclosure. I framed out, like a rectangular little frame. And it's covered with greenhouse plastic. And I lined the bottom spaces that were open. I have brick and mesh on top of that. And this critter just somehow finds a way to get in, and I'm really, really bummed out because, number one, I don't know how to stop this guy. I bought one of these motion-activated cameras, piece of junk. I set it up, and it didn't do anything. And even if I found out what the heck was doing it, I don't know how I would stop this guy. I really don't. So I was all psyched up because I was going to have a big harvest of tomatoes. Now they're all gone. Like the only thing I could think of, I'm going to plant more plants. How many can he eat? If I plant enough, like any farm has loss. There's a certain percentage that's going to be loss. So I get it. But I lost 80-90% of my tomato crop. So I'm just going to plant more plants. All right, let's talk about the market. By the way, I was really upset. I went to the range today to do some shooting just to get it off of my mind. So the market went down today on Trump comments. The tariffs are going on Canada and Mexico going into effect tomorrow. I did some buying of stock today. I have to let you know that my bond position, somebody asked me last week or the week before, I think he kind of posted a comment in a sarcastic way. I could be wrong, but it was like, hey, Mike, how's that bond recommendation doing? Because I know when I hear stuff like that, it's meant as a jibe. It's meant as it's just a sarcastic comment. It's meant as a criticism. I could be wrong. Maybe the guy, was not, maybe he was sincere when he was asking me about the bond position. But he asked me on a day when yields were, they popped up. The 10-year yield was down to 4.16 today. Let me just say this, folks. In the last month, when the S&P is down 3%, my bond position is up 5%. So it's doing very, very well. I was the only one who called this last year, and I'm going to, go back now. I'm going to backtrack, and I'm going to say once again that I told all of you who have been watching here, in the fourth quarter of 2024, I said, be careful about the expectations for 2025, and I spelled them out. I talked about Fed rate cuts, reducing interest income transfers. Okay, that hasn't happened yet. It has happened with T-bill interest. That's down $12 billion year over year. But it has not happened with total interest income transfers because interest on Treasury securities still very big. But that decline in Treasury bill interest, that's starting to pull down overall interest income transfers. So, I was right on that. And I think I'm going to end up being right on the whole, macro situation with the interest income transfers. That's number one. I said this year, we're looking at fiscal policy, which could change dramatically. I'm not going to go through it again. You could go back and I did video after video after video late last year warning you guys that 2025 may not be so pretty. And I kept saying, the Fed's going to be wrong on inflation. The place to be is in treasuries. Now, it took a little time for this to develop, and it's still, in my opinion, it's still in its very nascent stages. It's still in its very early stages. I think it's going to develop further. But I've been right on this. And like I tell you guys so often, I say in advance, we're going to come back and revisit my statements and revisit and take a look at what has happened. And it's playing out exactly as I said. Okay? Now, there's things going on right now, which I'm not going to elaborate right here because it's information for my subscribers. And if you want to find out, and this specifically relates to stocks and the economy, okay, what's going to happen now? Is it going to be a meltdown? Is it a buying opportunity? If you want to find out about that and you're not a subscriber, you're going to have to go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com, and sign up for a 30-day free trial. Okay, it's not costing you anything. But I can't keep giving out all these, I give out things as much as I can without undercutting people who pay for my service. And it's not expensive. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that you could subscribe to, which is way, 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 more expensive than my little 120. For what you're getting, you don't understand. For what you're getting for $125 a month, the kind of insight, the kind of education, the kind of understanding. I mean, I know a lot of you're not interested in elevating yourself. You want somebody to say, buy here, sell here, buy here, sell here. You want to find the system fairy. The system fairy is that wonderful, marvelous, magical system that gets you all the time on the right trades, and when it's wrong, it's a tiny, tiny little loss you take, and it carries you along to wealth and riches in a nice, soft cushion of cotton, and you never have to worry and you never have to stress. So for those of you who are looking for the system fairy, enjoy the journey and enjoy the search. Because that is just absolutely nonsense, okay? I give you insight, I give you information, I give you understanding, I give you knowledge. That is strength, that is power. Not just in the sense of what the economy is going to do, which, by the way, how many times did I tell you stocks follow the economy? What started this sell-off today, folks, if you were paying attention, it wasn't what Trump said. That came later in the afternoon. It was a revision of the Atlanta Fed's first quarter GDP outlook. Remember, they came out on Friday. They said it was down 1.5%. Today, they're saying it's down 2.8% contraction. And that started this sell-off. We were starting to stabilize, even pop up a little bit. And when that revision to their first quarter GDP forecast came out, the whole thing hit the skids. And then later on in the afternoon, Trump is like, some of you are pissed off that I support Trump. I mean, that's your problem. I support Trump. I happen to think that his economic advisors, the three picks, Bessent, Lutnick, I can't understand where this guy came from and how he has been able to put together such a successful career. He looks like a goofball to me. And the third one, Musk, who's like the cherry on the cake. I think these are horrendous picks for economic advisors. I mean, they have everything wrong. And I've said many times, and if you guys been following me over the years, I said, like, a bad belief system, which is deeply, deeply, deeply embedded into Musk when it comes to understanding the monetary system. A bad belief system is like a disease in the body. And if you don't eradicate the disease, it's going to kill the body. Now, today I said like another analogy with this bad belief system. It's like a virus that hijacks a computer or an IT system. Think of an IT system, a very important one, like in a communication system or a defense system or something that is a critical system, energy system, right? If a virus got into that system and hijacked it, so you think of the economy as the system, as that IT system, a giant computer system, something of that nature. Musk's understanding, Musk's beliefs, that's like the virus that has hijacked the system. And you got to get it out. You got to get it out. And, if it goes like this, and the economy tanks because of this, this is very serious for Trump and the Republicans for the midterm elections. Now, I know that's 2 years off, but believe me, like right now, there's very little the Democrats have to go after Trump. But if the economy collapses, that's the first thing for most people. I mean, we could talk about Ukraine, we could talk about the Middle East, we could talk about, Russia, all this stuff. People are engaged. We could talk about DEI, we could talk about wokeism, all this stuff. People are engaged to a certain extent on these things, but like everybody is engaged on the economy. And if they fuck up the economy, if they crash the economy, here's another thing that I just find we're living in some kind of bizarro world. So last week, when that first Atlanta Fed first quarter GDP forecast came out as negative 1.5%, Musk comes out with this idea, well, let's just take government spending out of GDP and everything is going to be hunky-dory. Everything is going to be peachy. Government spending is 25% of the economy. Even if you take it out in the calculation and you just present it separately, the first thing it's going to do is going to shrink. That'll shrink U.S. GDP, at least as it is reported, okay? Which is an embarrassment, all right? And then, today, this Howard Lutnick, which again, I have to say, folks, I've been over 40 years. I've been a member of 4 exchanges, floor trader. I had a brokerage operation. I was, on Wall Street my whole entire time. I heard of Howard Lutnick and I knew he was the head of Cantor Fitzgerald, the bond trading firm. But I never heard like accolades or anything about this guy. Look, I traded shoulder to shoulder with Vincent Viola, who was the former chairman of the NYMEX. He's the current owner. He's a multi-billionaire. He's the current owner of the champion Florida Panthers hockey team. The guy was a West Point graduate. Like, I remember Vinny Viola, and he started Virtue Financial, which is one of these algo trading shops. I knew him. I remember him distinctly in the crude oil pits. I was trading right next to him. That's a guy, I can tell you, he's real. Okay? I know a lot of people. I knew people who worked at Cantor Fitzgerald. I never heard anything especially incredible about Howard Lutnick. I think he's probably a good schmoozer. He looks like that. He kind of looks like that. It has zero charisma. Just emanates nothing. Okay, let me get off of this because it looks cheap. It looks like whiny on my part. I'm not going to do it. All I'm saying is that Lutnick today said, yeah, and he's the head of Commerce Department, I'm going to take GDP out because when the government buys a tank, that's real GDP. But when he literally said this, when it pays 1,000 people to think about buying a tank, that's not GDP. Where did he come up with this? Pay 1,000 people to think about buying a tank. Listen, Howard, if we're going to go down this route, you could pretty much put that same critique on the entire financial sector because it creates nothing. It's basically an intermediary between different parties in the economy where it extracts a rent, a fee for basically, shuffling paper around. I mean, if you want to go down that route, Howard, then you might as well eliminate the entire financial sector of the economy because that's exactly even more so than the 1,000 people thinking about what tank to buy, which is a ludicrous, ridiculous, silly, goofy, just like the way he looks. Little guy with that beard, the dumb smile on his face all the time, that raspy voice. I don't know, man. I just see it that way. So then this idea was Musk's idea. Hey, just take the interesting thing, again, you take government spending out. The whole concept of GDP anyway is that when things happen in the economy, when there are transactions, product is created, a service is provided, somebody gets paid. So what GDP does is basically it tracks that income flow. There's an equation, national product equals national income. They're equivalent, okay? So it's like you want to separate the income out of the government sector that the government sector provides because you think that's not, go ahead, but that is going to fuck up every economic model used by economists. And maybe you're saying, so Mike, what's wrong with that? Economists are always wrong. I'm just saying, it's not going to change anything. It's not going to change, how the economy functions. It's not going to change what the trends are in terms of, are we in an expansion? Are we in a contraction? It's a silly, dumb, childish idea. And the irony is, if you take it out, they're going to have to come back to it because they're going to be embarrassed about the shrinkage in the economy and say, well, yeah, but if you include the government, we're really over here. We're not really over here. So what's the freaking point, is what I'm saying. A bad belief system is like a disease in the body. If you don't eradicate the disease, it's going to kill the body. So anyway, if you want to find out what's going on, it's very, very important. Because I told you guys last year that this was going to happen. I told you about interest rates, bonds. It took a little time to develop, but I don't, like a lot of you, like if it doesn't happen, bing, bang, boom, like this, the next, fine, the next 5 minutes or tomorrow, you're like, oh, the trade sucks, Mike. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. I'm off of that since a long, long time ago. That doesn't work. Okay? Think Warren Buffett. Anyway, that's it for today. Don't forget, please like and subscribe if you've done that. If you've done that already, thank you very much. If anyone has any recommendations on this critter, I think the only thing I can do right now, maybe I can build a different enclosure, but I think I gotta just win with volume. I gotta plant more plants, so I'm gonna get more plants. How much can he eat? I mean, I don't know. How much can he eat? If each plant yields me 5 tomatoes instead of 15, I'll still have some tomatoes, right? Anyway, maybe tomorrow I'll have none. There's not a lot left. And they're not red yet, so I can't pick them. Can you eat green tomatoes? I don't think you can. Although wasn't there a movie, Fried Green Tomatoes? I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today. Don't forget, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial. Bye.